Happy New Year, everyone. I trust your first 4.5 days have been fabulous. Yes. Anybody achieved your intention yet for the year? Come on. Progress. All right. Progress is good. I imagine with the welcoming into the new year that we're envisioning a better 2025. Yes. Isn't it interesting how we always do that? No matter how good the year was, we always envision a better year coming, don't we? A better 2025. Last week we burned away all of 2024 and we set our intentions. They're sitting here on the altar. Been blessed a lot already. We started a new theme here at Scottsdale CSL. Our theme this year is intentional living. Intentional living. What is that? What does it mean to live intentionally? Well, I think it means living on purpose, in purpose, being fully present in each moment. It involves consciously choosing, those two words go together well, consciously choosing what we're going to surround ourselves with, who we're going to invite into our lives, what is going to be in our environment, selecting things that we put in our bodies, etc. Being conscious in those choices so that we can be more fully present in each and every day and maybe not live on autopilot quite so much as we perhaps did in 2024. Living an intentional life is about making those small, conscious, daily intentions, those daily choices about what enhances life and not allowing ourselves to get distracted by the things that clutter up our lives, the things that are the time wasters, the things that we go, what happened? How did it get to be 3 o'clock? Where did my day go? Yeah, we've all been there, yeah. Author Richie Norton. I've never heard of this guy. Anybody heard of him? Author Richie Norton. He's a young man. He's been written up in Forbes magazine. He's written a couple of books. He's got an amazing life story. But he says intentional living is the art of making our own choices before others' choices make us. Ooh. Making our own choices before others' choices make us. Yeah. This month, for our series, we are using this book, little book, great book, packed with so much good stuff. I highly recommend it. We've got a few copies in the books in the front desk, the bookstore. It's a classic by Ernest Holmes, Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind. And our theme for the month is a philosophy of faith and a way of living. And you may have seen that on the cover of the Science of Mind textbook. And it's a great little summary of what this teaching really is for us. It teaches us about the philosophy of Holmes and many of the ancient philosophers that he brings that information forward. It teaches us to live in faith, teaches us about God. And it's also a way of living and practicing and using the principles and tools in our lives. So we're going to be using that book as the foundation to get us started for this year of intentional living. My question today is, which way am I going? Which way am I going? Last week we set the intention. We know the destination. We have the destination, but which way are we going to get there? What actions can we take? What should we, what do we, what could we begin to do? What process, what steps? These intentions that we all set last week were likely based on our personal definition of achievement. What is achievement to you? Is it health, abundance, education, travel, living more peacefully? What is it, and as you consider yourself successful when you have achieved this, when your life is going this way? Whatever that was, you probably want more of it, right? Ernest Holmes, on the very first page of that book, says the ability to control your experiences and have them result in happiness, prosperity, and success lies in your own mind and the way you use it. This means you control your own experience. You really are in charge of your affairs and the way they are to develop. First page of that book. That's the depth that's in there for us as we read through it. It's a strong statement, and it may not be completely believable. I mean, if you're walking in here for the very first time, you know nothing about this teaching, you might go, "What? You seen my life? What are you talking about?" But Holmes goes on to further clarify that with an affirmation saying, "My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking." I'm going to invite you to say that with me. My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking. And so it is. Do you believe that at more than the intellectual level? Do you believe that? Do you live from that? What thoughts do you allow to wander the hallways of your mind? Are they always on point about your intention? Or do some of those other things get in? Some of those things we maybe burned away last week, do some of those get in there? If we truly lived this, would we not be more diligent in catching those and changing those? If that's true. I've been listening recently. You know, most of my books are on Audible now because I do a lot of driving, and I get more reading done that way, more listening, I should say. But I've been listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, You Are the Placebo. Anybody read that or listened to it? Wonderful book. Wonderful book. He talks about the mind-body connection with a lot of science. And I like his presentation because it's detailed, but it's not over my head, if that makes sense. It's in layman's terms. He says that the DNA contained within in each cell, if we took it out and stretched it, 6 feet long. In a cell, one cell. Is that amazing? The DNA strands, if we stretch them out, would be 6 feet long. He goes on to say that the DNA in each and every cell of our body is not preordained, but is instead filled with infinite possibilities controlled by our thoughts, feelings, and actions. What? He cites medical case studies of identical twins. Same DNA, identical twins who do not have identical health situations in their bodies. We've talked about before how every reaction in our bodies, every emotion has a chemical response, a hormone that goes with it. Like stress creates cortisol, right? And that's the hormone that goes through and saturates our body, our blood system, our cells. Dr. Joe's theory is that each of these chemicals reacts with the cells of our bodies to direct them to turn certain genes on and off. This was all amazing to me. It almost made me stop the car. I mean, it really did. When he was talking about this, I was like, wow. We live and teach that we live in this field of infinite possibilities. But we usually say this field of infinite possibilities that surrounds us, right? What if it really is the 30 trillion cells in our body, that each one of those is an infinite possibility? When Holmes says the soul is the subconscious of the law of our lives, the soul is the subconscious and the law of our lives, he's really saying that our ability to create our life is actually inside of our cell bodies. Jesus said, the Father is within. Could it be really possible that our thoughts direct the health of our bodies? That our thoughts direct the balance of our bank accounts, that our thoughts direct the quality of our relationships. That's a powerful but prickly idea, particularly if we're not experiencing great health, great relationships, or great financial position right now. Now, we may be prone to jump to that nice negative conclusion. It's my fault that I'm this way. Please don't. It's not, there is no fault. There is no fault. There is no blame. Whatever is simply is an experience that is happening right now. The question is, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with what is right here now? That's what's important. Ernest has told us the world has learned all that it needs to from suffering. However, many of us grow spiritually through suffering and through adversity. Have you ever gotten to the other side of a really particularly nasty situation and looked back and said, that's the best thing that ever happened to me? It wasn't fun while I was going through it, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because of this. But what do we do with it when we're in the messy middle of it? You know, the messy middle? What do we do when we're in the messy middle? We change our thinking. Now, I know Ernest said that. Dispenza says that, and he backs it up with a lot of science, a lot of current quantum science, which he calls the new model of reality. Think about your average day. In detail. When you get up, what do you do? What do you do before you leave the house? Do you get dressed and get ready about the same way every day? Drive to work about the same route every day? See the same people every day? Have the same conversation? No, that person's going to trigger this button and that one's going to do that. It's kind of the same thing, right? We think the same thoughts, we do the same things, we get the same results, and we feel the same feelings, which creates the same thoughts of doing the same things, getting the same results, and feeling the same feelings. Day after day after day after day after day. Keeping us stuck exactly where we are. And that's why this doesn't happen. That's why our intentions don't happen. It's because we're still living the same thoughts that we've been living. We can't create the new me by thinking the same way we've always thought. Do you agree? Okay. My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking. Right? When during my day am I consciously choosing to direct my thinking somewhere else? Getting off of that autopilot response. When am I going to do that? Am I going to drive to work a different way just so I see different things and I have to be more present? Am I going to dress differently? Am I going to do my grooming differently? I've made a change. What are you going to do differently to be more present? In order to live intentional lives and change any unpleasant experience, we need to become conscious creators in our own lives. Changing the habitual patterns of our thinking. Anybody been married for a while? Do you know what your partner's going to say? Do you know how they're going to react? Do you know what? Yeah. Are you listening half the time? Maybe. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That's the autopilot stuff that we do. because we know what's going to happen. We expect what's going to happen. I expect that I'm going to get cut off in traffic and I'm going to get all upset about it. We've got to be more conscious and intentional about how we're choosing to live our lives. Simply writing them down is good. It's a great first start. It's not enough. It's not enough. Now is when our work begins. I didn't tell you that part last week. I didn't want to scare you. But now is when your work begins. We cannot create new life with the same thoughts that created the one we're trying to escape or improve. A great way to start is with the spiritual practice of visioning. And I just happen to have one coming up on Wednesday. Yay! Yay! Opening our mind to Spirit's highest idea of our lives. We sort of have this finite set of thoughts in our minds. Now, we might be exposed to some other things, but it's things that have typically happened before or someone else is already doing. When we vision, these are the out of the blue things that come. Spirit's highest idea for my life. Oh my gosh, an aha, something that scares us. It's so big and so exciting that it's different. It keeps us present, keeps us engaged. And then the process of visualization. I talked about that last week a little bit, remember? Visualization is a way for us to keep that vision alive. So we vision to get Spirit's highest ideal, and then we visualize as our daily practice that ideal and embodying that as who we be as living in it. Visualization engages not only our imagination, but also our meditative process. So it's twofold. Step 1, again, is visioning. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock on Zoom. Step 2 is knowing what you want. You wrote it down last week. Do you remember what you wrote down? Okay. You should have kept a copy. We need to let go of the how. We have the what, we need to let go of the how. But we need to believe it's possible somehow. That's where our faith comes in. That's where our trust comes in. That once we say yes, that everything that we need to bring that to us begins to flow into our lives, and we look for it. We watch for it. Step 3 is then to imagine what it feels like to be at that destination, to have achieved what it is that you are intending to achieve, and being in that. Imagine it so vividly that you feel the warmth of the sun, that you feel the dynamic health, the strength of your body. You see the bank account balance, large, long numbers, lots of zeros. You feel your lover's hand in yours so vividly. And you keep imagining and adding to it more and more active pictures with it until you believe it. Until you see yourself standing in front of the doctor and the doctor saying, "It's a miracle, you're healed. What did you do?" Until you feel the sun and the salt spray. Till you smell the copper tone. Anybody smell the copper tone right now? Yeah. No matter what your end destination is, you can use that power of your imagination to create the scene so vividly for yourself. Sometimes my challenge in visualization is sticking with it in my mind. Does your mind ever wander in meditation? So visualization, it can do the same thing. 2 things that you can do. If you can't keep it in your mind, work with your prayer partner or a good friend who is willing to support you in whatever the wildest idea you might have is. No doubt, no disparaging, no negativity. And you're just talking about your vision and how you're living in it and what you're experiencing. And they're going, yeah, I see it. Yeah, I got it. Absolutely. Or you can journal about it. Sometimes just writing it out and letting it flow and getting more and more detailed about what this vision is. Those are ways that we can support this intention that we've set to come into fruition into our lives. Did you know that gratitude is a tool of manifestation? Now, a lot of times we wait for something to happen and then we're grateful for it. But in this process, we believe it so much, we've embodied it so much, that we're grateful now before we ever see it in form. That's how gratitude is a tool of manifestation. The key to success in this process, though, is your willpower and your willingness to do the work, to stay with it, to practice daily, to vision and visualize it daily, to think the thoughts that support that, and to stop thinking the ones that don't. Stop thinking about the things, the sabotaging thoughts that don't support it. I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. Let those go. Let those go. The saboteurs that will evaporate your vision and dissolve your dreams. Ernest tells us, turn away from that and turn towards what it is you're calling in. It's not that we deny what a current condition is. We just turn away from it and don't feed it. And that's where most of us fail manifesting our dreams, is not sticking with them, not sticking with the practice. Remember last year, our theme was building our spiritual foundation? Reverend Lee and I have given you all sorts of tools to support this now, living your intention this year. When I heard Dispenza talking about how our bodies react to at the cellular level to those chemicals and what it does to the DNA and the genes, turning them on and off, I got real focused on stress and not allowing myself to get stressed, of paying attention to when I felt it coming on. And immediately doing something about that, using my practices to do something about that. Had an appointment at 2:30 on Friday. I left my house at 2:30. I was going to be late. I let them know I was going to be late. But still, when I got on the freeway, traffic, get out of my way. Don't you know I'm late? Right? Anybody else feel that way? And I felt that stress, and I went, whoa. I know they'd rather I get there alive and well than stressed, crazy, or in an accident. I know they don't mind I'm going to be a few minutes late. I use a mantra. I go within, not too far, I'm driving. But I allow myself to find center and relax. Let it go. Look at the bigger picture. And feel that stress just dissipate. Feel my body calm down. And when I find myself in disagreement about something, rather than taking that on as a confrontation, I pull myself back and I listen. I listen internally to my conversation and externally to what's happening here, rather than getting into that stress and angst position. I believe for me, that's important, is to manage my stress. And my goal is to eliminate it. because my body doesn't need that stuff. Learning to live in the creative process in a conscious way is the cornerstone of this teaching of the science of mind. That's really what we teach. Intentional living is learning to live consciously, to consciously direct the law of our lives. Envisioning and visualization are two of the ways that we can support that. Two of the ways, powerful tools that we can use to implement the law of attraction in our lives. Or perhaps I should say in ourselves, if they truly are the source of infinite possibilities. So if you would like to study more about these life-changing principles, I invite you to sign up for our Mindful Monday. It's a newsletter that Reverend Leah and I send out each week that's a recap of our talk and the practices that we're going to give you here in just a minute that you can use in your life to further embody the teaching, embody the tools, practices, use them in your life so that you can achieve your goals and intentions and transform your life. Your spiritual practice for this week, number 1, is vision. I invite you to join me Wednesday, 6 o'clock on Zoom. Send me an email, revjill@scottsdalecsl.org. You can get the credentials for the login. I need that by Tuesday, 5. Step 2 is visualization. Or actually, number 2 is visualization. The first step of that is to know what you want, which I think we set those intentions last week. Step 2 is imagine what it feels like to have it, be it, and do it. Imagine what it feels like to have it, be it, and do it. Then engage the willpower to hold the vision with daily visualization. And be aware of and neutralize those saboteur thoughts. Fear, being critical of yourself, any of those. If you're ready to experience your 2025 intention, spend 45 minutes every day. This may mean you need to get up a few minutes earlier than you are used to. If you're used to meditating 20 minutes, you need to get up 30 minutes earlier. Give yourself a little time to visualize this for 45 minutes every morning. Elevate your emotions to convince your mind and body that the picture that you're envisioning is already a reality for you. Dispenza says doing so will change your brain circuitry and your body's genetic expression. It sounds like a lot, but if that's what it takes to heal our bodies, to improve our balance sheet, to call in our one, are we willing to do that? Are we willing to do 45 minutes out of 24 hours for you? We'll close with a final thought from Ernest Holmes, who says, a state of expectancy is a great asset. A state of uncertainty, one moment thinking perhaps and the next thinking, I don't know, will never get the desired results. Even God can give you nothing until you make up your mind what it is you expect. So it is. And it is your turn. If you have questions or comments, complaints, whatever it might be, you're taking notes. Oh boy.
Yes. Very good. What do you mean by we control our thoughts? And if so, how?
Ernest actually said that. I was just quoting him. No.
Okay, what's he mean?
What's he mean? He means that we can control our thoughts.
How?
You are a geologist by trade.
Yes.
You studied. You learned to be a geologist. I could hand you a rock and you could probably identify it for me. Yeah. How did you learn to do that?
Mainly looking at rocks in the field.
And
Experience,
studying, practice. So that's how we learn to control our thoughts. You learn to control your thoughts from thinking about football, basketball, baseball, whatever else may have been girls may have been an interest, to focusing on geology and training your thinking to think that.
But if we have 50,000 thoughts a day, supposedly,
Mhm.
you're saying the only way you can do that is make good choices out of those thoughts.
Make good choices up. You choose what you want to think about. Do I want to think about doom and gloom and really bad things, or do I want to think about positive, affirmative, and uplifting things? I get to choose which one I think about. And if I find myself going to the darker thoughts, I can choose to come back over here.
So you ignore the others.
Turn away from.
Okay.
And our spiritual practice that helps us to get there with that is our meditation. Because meditation, over time, we learn to focus our mind.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Great question. Anyone else?
So 45 minutes is a long time
It's a
for
lovely
people
time.
who aren't practiced at this. So is there a way, or would it be beneficial to maybe split it up into 15 minutes to start with, or do what you can instead of sitting down and failing at 45 minutes over and over again?
Ye of little faith. That's an affirmation. I think if it were me, if I were going to break it up and not do the process, I love you, right? Anytime we start looking for loopholes, we're discounting the practice. So
my concern was basically, it's like sometimes how do you start? Because 45 minutes for somebody who's not practiced at it is a really long time to sit there and try and visualize. And I've seen more people unable to do it. And so in order to, I know for me that I started with 15 minutes in the morning, lunchtime 15 minutes, and before bed 15 minutes. And when I could do that, then I was able to, keep growing it until I could do it all in one sitting. But I mean, that was the only way I was able to actually come to that place where I could sit for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
and that's better than I started. When I started, my goal was, can I sit here for 3 minutes? And I grew from 3 minutes to 20, over time. So I understand completely what you're saying.
But did you make yourself sit through the 45 minutes when you were working on that?
No.
Right.
No, but what I would do is things like journaling and my prayers and affirmations and things like that. So I had other practices that I would build with it. So that's what I was going to say on this practice. We have those other two ways of doing it, which is sitting and visualizing or journaling it out, just writing it out. Write yourself a story about it. And that may take 45 minutes or 3 hours. And, working with a friend, hey, I've got a new intention. I'm doing a new practice and I want to share this with you only if you guarantee me you'll only support me. You'll never question me. You'll never give me advice. You'll never do any of that stuff. You just listen and go, yay, you're my cheerleader. So I think the combination of those practices and building that time frame up, I'm assuming you guys already meditate for 20 or 30 minutes every day. So if that's not the case, we failed last year. They just didn't get there.
I'm leaving now.
So thank you for that, Eric.
So are you saying like we've for decades have meditated every morning together, usually around 20 minutes. But are you saying maybe with this 45-minute idea, you could do journaling, say after 20 minutes, or is it like visualizing, meditating for 45, then journaling?
You're an experienced meditator. At 20 minutes, 45 is not going to be difficult for you. I just don't think it will be, because you're going to be, instead of just meditating like we normally think of meditation, this is an active process of visualizing. So by the time you get to 20 minutes, you should be so engrossed in your story, you're losing track of time. You're so excited about what you're seeing and what you're adding on to it and what you're, the next things that are coming and the creative process that's happening. So I that's what I'm guessing will happen when in a 20-minute meditator's life. Anybody else? Laura, you're frowning. Do you have something? I'm over it. Anyone else? All right, Joe.
I think a lot of times our subconscious, like I know with my hypnotherapy practice, if you're doing somebody with weight loss, they would come in and you discover through visualization that they need to lose 50 pounds or 40 pounds. The subconscious automatically goes back into a point in time where it recognizes when you first knew how much 40 pounds was. Whether you were a child pulling a bag of dog food over for your dad to feed the dog, and you're like, oh my God, this is so much, so much weight. So the key is to not look at it in that chunk. So what I used to do with the therapy practice is a few ounces a day. You're not losing 60 pounds, you're losing a few ounces a day. So I think it's the same with meditation. If you don't approach it with, I need 45 minutes, and just approach it with, I'm okay with 20, but it's going to continue a little bit at a time. It'll be much easier. It'll be much easier because your subconscious isn't denying that 45 minutes. Oh my God, that's an hour and what is it? A half? Hour and
3/4 of an hour.
3/4. Where'd you go? So the thing is, you're not grabbing that big chunk, but instead you're looking at a small piece of time, and then allow it to progress naturally.
Yeah. For beginning meditators, absolutely. Like I say, I really started with 3 minutes because I could not sit there for 20 minutes, and I had to build up to it. It was a requirement for practitioner training that you sign your life away. You will meditate for at least 20 minutes every day. And I was like, ooh, I got to grow into that one. But I did. And again, as I said with Eric, I think with the visualizing process, you're going to be creating. You're going to be so excited that you'll be surprised when your timer goes off.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's a difference between meditating and visualization, because I'd always heard that meditating was clearing your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And visualizing, as you are concentrating on something, I think it could be easy to do a lot because it's something you really want to experience in your life. And you're in that zone where you are seeing yourself attaining that goal that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, meditation, on the other hand, I think is something a little different in terms of clearing your mind. Am I?
No, you're totally right. And I'm probably confusing that in my words. I say the meditation process because it is a focused process, like meditation is, where we calm and get centered, and then we begin to visualize and get active with our mind. So it's not just that, but you will be receiving because the creative process will be at work. As you're visualizing, more creative ideas are going to be called in. So it's going to be it's an interesting process. Yeah.
I think Joe had it correct in that.
Oh, don't tell
I
me.
mean, I've started working out, and when I was a little kid, you work out and you have 5 minutes and you start with 5 pounds. And then you work up over the years to 75 or 100 pounds. You don't do it 45 minutes immediately. It's a process that takes time. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't, I wouldn't mind seeing the recommended practice again, because I'm confused about, like, are we doing our meditation and then doing visualization, or are we doing visualization instead of meditation for 45 minutes, or what?
The more the merrier.
That doesn't answer my question.
Yeah, I would suggest that if you are going to commit to a 45-minute visualization, that that you do that. And I would personally, I probably would do 10, 15 minutes of meditation before that, just to make sure that I'm centered and cleared and ready to go. And then move from there right into my meditation, into the visualization process. You might be able to count that first 10.
You have to clear your mind.
You got to clear. That's right. You got to clear your mind before you can visualize. Get rid of all this other stuff you're thinking about.
Are you
Jane.
going to put this slide on the internet?
Yes, on the
Where
mindful
we can,
on the Mindful Monday
Mindful
newsletter.
Mondays.
Yes,
Okay.
I will put it in there, and I'll clean it up a little bit. I'll put some clarity on that too. How about that? Anybody else? Wow. I have ordered Genevieve's book, so there'll be our visualization book will be here soon. You can pick that up as well. All right, shall we pray? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, so as we go within and just quiet our minds, and allow ourselves to become fully present, just centered in the energy of this room and recognizing our oneness in that, recognizing that that energy is God. It is the one power and presence that's in, through, and as all of life. It is joy and peace, harmony and balance. It is the creator, creation, that which is created, the creative process. It is all. For there is nothing outside of God. There is not God in anything else. There is only spirit. There is only source, universal energy and presence. And all of that is here now present in this room right now, in, through, and as me as a manifestation of it, and in, through, and as each one of us gathered here, whether in person in the room, listening online, listening later on the internet. There is no separation, no time, no space. We're all here. We're all one in God. And so as we just breathe into that unity, remembering the very truth of our being, we accept in this moment the intentions that we've set for ourselves for this year. We accept that we are beings of choice, that we have the power to choose in each and every moment of our lives. And in this moment, we set an intention to do so, to live intentionally in this year, 2025, to make conscious decisions each and every day as we move through and about our day, bringing ourselves back and back and back to the present moment, to being aware and awake in each and every moment of our lives. I know for anyone that has anything on their heart this day that they are seeking prayer around, that as they lift it into the consciousness of this room, the consciousness of this prayer, that we bless them, accepting on their behalf the manifestation of that prayer, knowing that it is already done. I bless each and every one of the intentions that's been set last week, that sits on our altar, any that are in your hearts this morning, knowing that as we say that sacred yes to the universe, that sacred yes to the desire within our hearts, that all that is necessary is attracted to it to come forward and support it in its full and complete manifestation into form in our lives. No matter what it is that's necessary for that, we expect it, we know it's here, and we receive. I am grateful for this community. I'm grateful for this prayer. I'm grateful for its manifestation in our lives. And I just release it into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is already done. There is nothing left to say except to affirm it together by saying, and so it is.